Hello and welcome to Soothing Pod Sleep Stories. I am Anthony, and if you are here today to listen to a dreamy story that will soothe you and comfort you, you are in the right place. Tonight, I'm going to tell you the story of the Light Princess and her quest to lift a curse. We will travel to a faraway kingdom full of lush, green forests, magic, and a peaceful lake. Before we begin our soothing story, let us first settle into our space to prepare for a restful night's sleep. Pull the blankets over your body. Feel the weight of the blankets as they embrace you with their warmth and safety. Underneath you, feel the mattress as it gently cradles you. Consider for a moment how amazing it feels just to lay here. The world is asking nothing of you at this moment except to let go and unwind. Close your eyes and truly listen to the noises around you. It could be the drone of cars, or the gentle noise of the wind brushing up against your window. Whatever the noise around you is, take care for a moment to feel the rhythm of these noises. Listen to the consistent drone of the noises as they lull you closer and closer to a restful night's sleep. Can you feel yourself drifting into a peaceful mindset? Now that you have settled into a relaxing position, let us begin. In a kingdom far, far away, a young princess named Athena was born. Athena was an imaginative little girl, always running and playing, making up a world of her very own. The kingdom she had been born into was known across the land for its natural beauty. The castle laid in a valley, surrounded by waterfalls on all sides. The mist from the waterfalls seemed to make the air sparkle. Rainbows crisscrossed the valley, illuminating the sky with stunning colours. The entire valley was like a beautiful green mirage. Plants crept up nearly every home, every inch of rock, every cobblestone street and bridge. All the waterfalls cascaded down, down, down into the town's most beloved feature, a lake. The lake was always calm, like a sheer sheet of glass. The blue sky and waterfalls were reflected on its smooth surface, a reminder that beauty was all around anyone who ventured into the valley. It was here that Athena played the most. She would wander all day through the dense, lush forest, playing with fairies, frolicking over streams, napping in the cool grass. However, things weren't all rosy for Athena. Her father was a benevolent king, focused entirely on spreading tranquility throughout his kingdom. He loved every thatcher, every cobbler, every candle maker in his city. But unfortunately, the king had trouble loving his own sister, Makemnoit. She was a woman that was spiteful and power-hungry. Fearing her influence on his daughter, the king did all he could to keep his sister away from Athena. On the day of Athena's confirmation, her aunt wasn't invited. Angry at not being invited to such an important event, Makemnoit made a dreadful decision. She arrived at the church in the middle of the confirmation, Athena stood in her white dress, looking up at her aunt with wide green eyes. The stained glass windows painted the room every colour imaginable. The flickering candle in Athena's hand illuminated her sweet little face. Makemnoit raised her hand and whispered, "I curse you never to feel gravity again." A few seconds of silence passed. After murmurs of surprise pulsed through the crowd, Athena felt the weight drip out of her body. It seemed to pour out of her fingers and toes as a feeling of buoyancy replaced it. Ever so slowly, Athena began to rise up into the cathedral ceiling of the church. For a moment she felt scared, but as she looked at the faces of her mother and father, two people who loved her, her fear was replaced by a feeling of peace. She placed her hand on the stained glass window directly in front of her. The warmth of the sun just on the other side seemed to melt away any remaining fear she had. Makemnoit fled the church, out into the sunny morning light. Athena's father, appalled by the curse, tossed a rope up to her to help her come down. From that moment forward, Athena's life had to change completely. Her feet never touched the ground, for she was constantly floating in the air, weightless. Those in her father's court had to tie pink ribbons around her to keep her grounded. Just the slightest breeze could carry Athena off into the distance. She often found herself wondering what it would be like if that did happen. The wind always seemed to be begging her to follow it. She dreamt of allowing herself to relax and let go, of floating off to distant lands and watching them pass under her as she sailed by in the wind's gentle caress. Athena often joked about floating away, and her parents began to notice more and more that Athena had lost her ability to take things seriously. She never cried, and it appeared as if her heart had simply frozen over. Athena had one source of comfort and joy during this time, the beautiful lake by her house. The lake was the only place where Athena wasn't able to float away. She found herself in the water almost every moment of the day. She would lay on her back, letting the cool water wash over her body. She would stay there for hours, listening to the gentle chirp of the birds and the frogs. Athena would watch as the sun progressed through the day, shifting the surface of the lake from yellow to blue to a bright, fiery orange. She felt at home here amongst the birds and the flowers and the fish. With every lap of the water, she felt her body relax. The tension of the tethers that grounded her were washed away. She often felt as though the animals around her were her only true friends. In the early dawn hours, she would pet the deer as they bowed down to drink. She would smile at the feel of their warm fur against her fingertips. Her parents brought her to a doctor, hoping to find a cure for her curse. The doctor believed that only the tears of true love would be able to ground her once again. Her parents began to search far and wide to find a match for their daughter, but Athena wasn't interested in the slightest. She had her lake, and when she didn't have the lake, she had the breeze, comforting her, telling her everything was okay. One day, Athena was resting in the lake. She dove under the waves, looking for something new, something to relax her. Caverns underneath the water glowed with stunning blue light. She swam through these tunnels, amazed and invigorated by their sheer beauty. She touched the glowing coral as she passed, and tiny particles of light seemed to spark and dance at her fingertips. The world under here was so quiet, so peaceful. She felt as though she was miles from civilization, embraced by a world of utter tranquility and understanding. Things moved in slow motion under the water. All the stress of the outside world, the expectations, the obligations, they all seemed to fall asleep and drift away with the current. Athena rose to the surface. The feeling of the warm sun drying the water on her face was instantly comforting. She sat for a long moment, her eyes closed, soaking in the sunlight and the solace that came with it. She drifted over the edge where the elegant waterfall spilled into the lake. She treaded water underneath the powerful waves. Like a massage over her shoulders and back, the waterfall roared down over her body. The water was brisk and refreshing. Water that flowed year-round from the glaciers on the mountain tops all around her sleepy village. She lifted an arm and watched droplets from the mist collect on her pale skin. If she could stay here forever, she would never feel sorrow again. Whispers had spread across the land, telling of Athena's infatuation with the lake and her reluctance to take a partner. One very important truth had also spread. Athena was happy. Makemnoit had retired to a cottage hidden deep within the forest. She lived off of plants and mushrooms she foraged, cooking them over a wood fire on the cool autumn nights. Vines had taken over every inch of her house as nature slowly reclaimed what was once hers. Here Makemnoit often thought of her family. Had she ruined her brother's reputation? Had her curse still made life impossible for her young niece? Makemnoit encountered a woodsman one early morning. She inquired about her niece, only to learn that Athena was blissful and had found that the curse didn't work in her beloved lake. Wounded that her curse had ceased to work completely, Makemnoit took the long journey to the lake. Her horse weaved through miles and miles of the lush, fresh forest until it eventually reached the edge of the lake. Even Makemnoit, as cruel as she was, had to stop for a moment and marvel at the beautiful land all around her. An evil plan began to form in her mind. Makemnoit dove under the cool waves, her hands glowing with her powerful magic. She reached the rocky bottom on the lake and pressed her hands as deeply as she could into the soil. In an instant, the water began to empty from the lake. Makemnoit had pressed a human-sized hole into the bottom of the lake, and water was rushing down, down, down into the earth below. Pleased with her plan, Makemnoit fled back to her cottage in the woods. The next morning when Athena journeyed to her lake, she could practically feel her heart shatter. Her only joy in life had completely vanished. Heartbroken, Athena retired to her room. Her sorrow seemed to radiate through the town, spilling out of her just like the water out of the lake. Even with her sadness, Athena couldn't cry. All the townspeople heard of Athena's troubles. They desperately searched for a solution. They sat over warm tea and bread night after night, trying to find a way to stop the leak. Unfortunately for Athena, the only solution was for someone to lay in the bottom of the lake, blocking the flow of water. But no one was going to risk their lives for the lake, nor Athena's happiness. The very same day the townspeople realized this, a prince from a nearby kingdom arrived to ask for Athena's hand in marriage. The two met in the very church Athena had been cursed in years earlier. She floated above him, her hand placed yet again on the same stained glass window. She felt the colours reflect on her soft face. When she looked down at the prince, she felt something she had never felt before. A warmth coursed through her whole body, a sense of comfort and belonging that put her body and mind at ease for the first time in weeks. "Why are you sad?" the young prince asked. "My beloved lake is no longer a comfort. I shall float for the rest of my life," Athena replied. Emotion welled in the young prince's eyes. He helped Athena to the ground by gently pulling her ribbons. Once they were a few tantalizing inches apart, the young prince placed his hand on Athena's cheek. She closed her eyes at his tender touch. "I will return your lake to you," the young prince whispered. Without another word, he set off towards the lake. Worry washed over Athena. The king's men took her across the castle to the edge of the lake, where a small group had gathered. The young prince laid in the bed of the lake, filling the hole. Athena called to him, begging him to get out, but he merely smiled at her, a smile that could melt the coldest heart. Ever so slowly, Athena's beautiful lake began to return to her. Warm steam rose off of the water as it began to fill the lake bottom. The birds seemed to chirp louder. The green of the trees seemed to shine brighter. The whole thing was a miracle to behold, but Athena couldn't see the young prince. She dropped into the lake to find him. The warmth of love spread through her whole body, a sweet, serene feeling. In the deep blue of the lake bottom, she intertwined hands with the young prince. Though she had always found joy and comfort in this lake, that peace wasn't worth losing the young prince. Her fingers tangled with his, and Athena pulled the young prince to the surface. They floated closer and closer to that bright blue sky just on the other side of the water. The breath of fresh mountain air was the sweetest thing Athena had ever tasted. She led the young prince to shore. As he took his first shaky breath drenched in water, Athena felt something she had never felt before. Her whole body collapsed as she felt utter joy tingle through her. Her arms wrapped around the young prince as she listened to the sound of his breath, the most incredible sound she had ever heard. As she looked into his amber eyes, she felt as though a light was radiating from her soul. Ever so slowly, hot tears began to trail over her cheeks. The young prince embraced her as she began to float down to the earth beside him. The love she felt, the love that was wrapping her body in its gentle embrace, had begun to thaw her frozen heart. With it, her curse floated into the air above her head until it drifted off with the very wind that had controlled her whole life. The young prince and Athena went on to marry and build a pleasant home for themselves at the edge of the very lake that brought them together. Some say that to this day, the lake is still warm with the tears that unfroze Athena. I hope you are sleeping peacefully now. May you have sweet dreams and wake up refreshed and ready for a brand new day. Good night. I'll be with you tomorrow.